Sovereign Movement is Anti-Government, Off the Grid, and Gunning for Justice by Chris Walker, May 23rd, 2017, 8:40 a.m. Don't come in or I'll shoot, Vince Edwards shouted at Costilla County Undersheriff Ricky Rodriguez, who is standing near the front door of the half-buried RV where Vince Edwards was holed up. Taking Edwards at his word, Ricky Rodriguez scrambled back to his patrol car and called for reinforcements just before 7 p.m. on September 29th, 2016. So this is 6 years ago. While it wasn't unusual to encounter strong-willed individuals living off the grid in the wide open spaces of the San Luis Valley in southern Colorado, he wasn't going to take any chances. Vince Edwards had fortified his RV with other jerry-rigged structures and sand embankments, creating his own Mad Max bunker among the sagebrush. Even though he was only wanted for a failure to appear in court, it looked as though he wasn't going to go down easy, especially not after Vince Edwards called in his own backup. According to a police report detailing what turned into an almost 3-hour standoff, one of Vince Edwards' neighbors, Jeremy Costilla, posted this on Facebook. All Costilla County, Colorado people in need of rapid response to County Road 12 and 27. The police are trying to arrest someone unlawfully. Today, Vince Edwards claims he was unarmed during the incident and says he only threatened gunfire because he was frightened. But as officers arrived on the scene with AR-15 rifles, they agreed that a firefight seemed imminent. At one point, 2 mysterious vehicles appeared on the top of a nearby hill, giving their occupants a strategic vantage point overlooking the huddled group of sheriff's deputies and state patrol officers in the gathering dark. One of the vehicles turned off its lights, while the other kept its brights on. For the law enforcement agents, the effect was the same. They couldn't see the people inside the vehicles, but they had to believe they were armed. Then a third vehicle suddenly appeared on a county road and approached the encircled officers head on. "Stop! Get on the ground!" Ricky Rodriguez shouted as the vehicle parked and the 4 individuals got out. They turned out to be some of Vince Edwards' neighbors responding to the social media call. They were unarmed. As officers moved forward to detain them, 2 mysterious vehicles on the hill disappeared as abruptly as they arrived. So they allowed their buddies to get arrested, and they're like, "Oh, I'm out of here." Finally, at 9:32 p.m., Vince Edwards emerged from his RV shirtless with his hands in the air. He just ended an ongoing call with a 911 dispatcher, surrendered to a state patrolman on the condition that somebody had watch over his property, not be held in Costilla County's jail because he didn't trust the deputies there. For Undersheriff Ricky Rodriguez, it was a satisfactory ending to a situation that could have turned bloody, but it was also a reminder of a constant challenge that his office and Costilla County in general has had to contend with in recent years: off-the-grid residents who hold sovereign beliefs. The sovereign movement is a catch-all label for people who believe they're subject only to common law and therefore not subject to all the statutory laws of the U.S. government at its various levels, federal, state, and local. I wish we had a common law. We do. Our common law is the Constitution. Our common law is federal, state, and local law. I recognize federal, state, and local law. I don't recognize the old ancient English common law bullshit. I think we could actually get federal, state, and local law and consolidate it down to a nice common law, a nice top 10, criminal code, or just 10, sometimes calling themselves constitutionalists or freemen individuals who subscribe to a sovereign ideology, often don't believe they're required to follow any regulations drafted and passed by politicians, things like tax codes or driver's license rules, because the U.S. government has been corrupted and sovereigns are not under contract to adhere to all of its laws. The FBI considers sovereign citizens part of a terrorist movement, in part because sovereigns have... I'm also anti-terrorism. The war on terrorism is a disgusting tactic. I mean, no matter which side you're on, if you're the revolutionary fighter, the freedom fighter, why are you killing innocent civilians? That doesn't help your revolutionary cause. That doesn't help win hearts and minds. You build some infrastructure, build some water projects, help people, plant some whatever, raise some goats or whatever. Then they'll, in part because sovereigns have participated in much larger and dangerous situations than the one involving Vince Edwards. Among the most notable are the Bundy standoff in Nevada in 2014 when cattleman Cliven Bundy refused to let federal agents onto his ranch, and the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge occupation in Oregon in 2016, during which the armed militia, including Cliven Bundy's son, Amon, seized a visitor center for 40 days in protest over control of federal public lands. There used to be a big homestead movement, but they use a lot of these public lands for grazing. And I don't mind people using public lands, but the public lands is for all of us. So if you have cattle that's grazing on all of our lands, you should be respectful, should you not? Now, just real quick over there in Costilla County, southwest Costilla County, there's a shit ton of fucking major criminals before I had got there. I moved there in November 2019, and I was staying in an RV in an RV park over here in Conejos County because I was doing planning and zoning correctly. I was lawful. I don't want to just go into a community being a rude piece of crap, an unlawful piece of crap. So while I was in the RV, spending all that money, figuring out how to pay the permits or whatever, and then getting it on the up and up so that way I could get this, ball rolling. It took me about a year to get it going, but once, I put in the application, I did the thing, they came out, inspected it, and with the septic tank, and then they said, good on you. But then I didn't get any peace and security. All I had was Tecumseh. Every time I would leave my house, you had a bunch of weird criminal crap that was happening. And, after they killed Tecumseh, then it just got worse and worse. Spotlighting people, drive-by shooters, internet harassers, binocular strapped creepazoid stalkers, felony menacers. So that's what I've seen in the 2 years I lived in Costilla County. So in Costilla County, I moved there in November 2019, and you had poaching, you had arson, you had child rapists, you had child abusers, puppy mills, you had violence, trashy, a bunch of junk thrown into the river, Rio Grande River, serial killers, bloodshed. You had major crimes galore. And it's just a tiny little, rural area. You only got a population of 10 to 20. How comes major crimes anyways? So that's kind of the area that I go into. And then when I moved there for 2 years, I seen a bunch of felony menacers, felony animal abusers, more violence, more bloodshed. So what the hell's going on? Why the hell is there so much fucking criminal activity over there by the Labato Bridge in southwest Costilla County? I think it has a lot to do with the right-wing sovereign movement. So let's keep on reading this article into the record. It's like freaking long, but it's very important. It's very important. In Costilla County, sovereign ideology is most often manifested in off-gridders like Vince Edwards, who refuse, if you haven't got fuck a right-wing fascist authoritarian piece of shit. Fuck a right-wing fascist. Fuck this sovereign movement fucking bullshit. Fuck this whole fucking movement. Fuck a terrorist. Fuck a person it's the Constitution, motherfucker. We don't need a separate common law off to the side. We got a Colorado Constitution. We got an American Constitution. That's a good start right there. We also have criminal procedure, the rules of evidence. We also have, civil rules and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. They refuse to follow land use regulations, particularly the county's requirement that all permanent residents build a septic system and have access to electricity and fresh water no matter how remote their parcel of land. So they can be draconian, right? I mean, just to come in and expect everybody to have every single thing. I think it's okay to have a planning and zoning, but it's not okay to, snuff people out, to make people go bankrupt. Just keep on permitting until they have to leave, and then your criminal buddies can, steal all the stuff that's bullshit. People are investing money into the community. You want people to invest money. Those are good people. Those are good people minding their own damn business. They're off to the side. And the more that they develop their property, haven't y'all played Monopoly? The more that you improve your lot, the more rents that you get, the better your lot in life is. Particularly the county's requirement. So if they come in and they say, okay, you got to have, a cistern and all the electricity and a septic, and you got to have it tomorrow, well, that's not fair. But if they say, okay, as long as you're progressing towards a septic, towards electric, towards a cistern, as long as you keep progressing, then that's okay. But if you're paying for a permit and you don't even get police protection, if you're paying for all this shit, you don't even have a safe house, you don't even have a warm house yet, and then somebody murders your fucking dog and keeps on fucking with you, so you can't go to the lumberyard anymore, You pay for the permit, but you got a stalker. And every time you walk out the door, he's right there. Every time you walk at the back door, he's right there. Doesn't matter what the hell is going on. It doesn't matter what the hell is going on. Particularly the county, let's see. No matter how remote they're in the valley today, physical threats by sovereigns against Costilla County's code enforcers are common, and enforcers never go out into the field without bulletproof vest. Yeah. I mean, if they know that it goes on, then why would they be shocked? But the clash isn't limited to Costilla County. Individuals with sovereign beliefs have been at odds with elected officials across Colorado, and evidence suggests that the movement is growing throughout the United States. On March 30th, 8 people were arrested along the Front Range for threatening and harassing elected officials with their own versions of subpoenas, arrest warrants, and liens issued through a group called the People's Grand Jury of Colorado. The Supreme Court actually upheld all this fucking stupid, sick tactics. They get their advice from some asshole, and then basically the guy's like, let's just play word games. No, you call yourself not a U.S. Marshal, but just call yourself a People's Marshal. No, we're just saying we're the Marshal of the people. We're not saying you're actually deputized. But then they deputize him, and then they say, and they act like fucking pieces of shit. And then, we're going to hear later on that this motherfucker, was it Costly? Costly's going to act like a fucking dickhead, right? He acts like such a fucking badass. He's going to go around basically terrorizing the citizens, and yet when he gets arrested by the cop, he doesn't do shit. So, okay, Mr. Badass, what the fuck happened to you, Mr. Badass? What happened to you? You're a badass to a peaceful citizen that doesn't have unlimited state authority. Maybe that Wayne Bryan is correct. Maybe everybody does need to be deputized. So 8 people were arrested along the Front Range for threatening and harassing elected officials. The tactic which the FBI and Southern Poverty Law Center both called paper terrorism has become a common technique used by the sovereigns in all 50 states to harass public officials. The frivolous filings not only bog down court proceedings, but in the case of liens, can negatively affect a victim's credit score. Boulder District Attorney, what? That's kind of crazy. The credit score? Boulder District Attorney Stan Garnett. That doesn't make any sense. If somebody just checks, hey, what's his credit score? Well, it's 600. Well, it's 599 now since you checked it. How can we find out the credit score if we don't fucking check it? Boulder District Attorney Stan Garnett was among those targeted by the People's Grand Jury. We deal with this philosophy from time to time. He says these guys call themselves constitutionalists and essentially take the position that any state office is illegal or not authorized under their view of the world. A lot of these communications were a little odd and concerning, particularly the arrest warrant for myself and the claim that I owed close to $1 billion. Much of it was actually delivered around the cul-de-sac that I live in Boulder, so that was concerning to my family that these guys knew where I live. Now, if you have a court system that doesn't listen to the poor peasant, right, the poor peasant nobody, the common citizen, the common voter, if you have a court system that doesn't listen to the common voter, why was Andre Psycho Burroughs able to kill, 5 people, allegedly, right? And then why was the McDonald's able to get away with their crimes for years? What is it, 4 or 5 years? Let's see here. You got this one article where they were, and it's kind of crazy, but October 1st, 2017 is when Xanis McDonald is going to get sentenced to 40 years. Whatever happened to Samantha? What happened to Samantha McDonald? And they finally got the property out of his name, and the locals had burned his house down. So it seems like the right-wing movement, this was pretty much the death knell when Xanis had got arrested. This was the death knell to the right-wing movement. And I want to maintain the good work that has already, been accomplished that's out there. I mean, who the hell wants these goddamn criminal sons of bitches living by them? I certainly don't. And I'm happy that he is gone. I'm happy that he is gone. But why does the crime persist? Why does the crime persist? So this is part of the investigation. I'm opening up an investigation into all this. There's just been a stalker who I've been, I dubbed Little Xanis for over 2 years. I've had a stalker and I don't think he could stop himself. I don't think he could stop himself. So, according to Tom McGee's 2015 June 6 Denver Post article, Samantha and Xanis McDonald was, interviewed, and they lived in Costilla County soon after marijuana had become legal 2 years ago. So the article was written in 2015. 2 years ago would be 2013. Marijuana became legal in 2012. So they rushed in when marijuana was legalized. 2015 minus 2 is 2013. So that means from approximately 2013 to October 1st, 2017, Xanis and Samantha McDonald lived by the Lobato Bridge with their 4 children. And they were actively a part of the right-wing sovereign movement. They also had active warrants. Xanis had an active warrant for his arrest. He came from Pennsylvania. He came from Alabama. And he lived in Costilla County comfortably for 4 years. So comfortably, for 4 years, he was actually protesting the government. Denver Post newcomers to Costilla County. So, yeah, lured by legal marijuana, cheap land, Tom McGee. Check it out, the Denver Post. And so, you got a little article there. But we got a timeline. The McDonalds were there in Costilla County committing whatever kind of, disgusting, perverted crimes that they were committing. 2013, 2014. They came with an open warrant, so no telling what crimes they were committing in Pennsylvania and Alabama. They come into Colorado 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and then most of 2017. Most of 2017. So we have here... Yeah, they're just asking them. They got a Valdez. There's a Matthew Valdez. He's the county land use administrator. And then they're just talking about some of their experiences. So they were here for 4 years. Now, there's all this criminal activity. And there's this right-wing movement. So what the hell? Why is the right-wing movement still here? Is the bacteria still persisting? Let's just make sure that you had a bunch of neighbors that lived next to Samantha and Xanis McDonald during those years, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. Why were they able to get away with all those crimes for, 4 years, 4.5 years, on top of the crimes that they had committed from before? They lived in peace and tranquility next to so many people. So I'm going to look at some of the neighbors here. He resides in Huerfano County Jail right now. Xanis D. McDonald, 49-year-old Xanis D. McDonald. He's freaking a decade older than me. Generation next. Resides in San Luis, Colorado. Lived in Coleman, Alabama. Breening. Eggsville, Pennsylvania, Falkville, Alabama, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's places he had lived, resided around San Luis. So Coleman, Alabama, Falkville, Breeningsville, Pennsylvania, I guess. I don't know. So 4 to 5 years of crimes. 4 to 5 years of... He had a warrant out for his arrest. So that means anybody, his neighbors and his buddies, they're driving here and driving there. My God, I'd be hard-pressed to think that people that was out there living remotely in the middle of nowhere didn't introduce themselves. And I'm wondering if they should have ran over his dog, right? They should have done drive-bys, and they should have done spotlighting. They should have done all the harassment in the world to this guy. All the stuff, what I'm saying is all the stuff that's happening to me... I bet you they didn't. I bet you they were kind. So, all things considered, Xanis McDonald is gone. He's been taken care of. His house is gone. His name's off the property, finally, which I was excited to see. I would have liked to see the property given to the children. I don't know what happened to them. I hope the system, did them better. Let's hope. God, could you imagine if they put him in another terrible situation? But that's in a perfect world. I hope that they do okay in life. So, all things considered, Xanis is gone. Samantha Xanis McDonald's. Well, actually, there's another McDonald in Mesita. A William McDonald. He lives in California. I had heard a rumor that he was actually a part of it. And that they were passing... Their uncles or something, and they're passing the kids back and forth. That's according to Trinidad. So the big name right-wing sovereigns. Let's take a look at the big name right-wing sovereigns before we get to the neighbors, okay? So the big name right-wing sovereigns, I don't see any of them owning any land. You had that Vince Edwards right at the top of the thing. I don't see Vince Edwards anywhere. I don't see Jeremy and Jessica Costilla. I don't see Roger Marsh, Bruce Doucette. There was an Everhart, and I don't know how deep into the movement. Her name was mentioned, and she ran a Facebook page. And there's another Everhart, but it seems like all the big names are gone. Vince Edwards, no Vince Edwards is listed in Costilla County. Jeremy, Jessica D. Costly. There's one other Costly that was listed. No Jeremy, no Jessica. Bruce Doucette, no Bruce, but a Jeffrey Leon Doucette. He owns 5.5 acres. So there's another Doucette out there, Jeffrey Leon Doucette, 5.5 acres. His address is listed as being in New Hampshire. Roger Marsh is a Roger Marsh without the D. It's spelled differently, and it says he's got a North Carolina address. So, Roger Marsh, did I write that down wrong, or is that, is there a D in this? Roger Marsh. So, you got Bruce Doucette, you got Maria Martinez, but she's talking about the racial element. Ben Dune, Roger with a D. Yeah, Roger with a D. But not with the D there. So Roger Marsh, it seems like it could be a common name. Might not be the same guy, right? And they're not all over the place. So not just the McDonald's are gone, but it seems like the Costies are gone, the Doucettes. And then the Chloe Everhart, there's a Raymond and Philip Everhart who owns 5 acres each. Chloe ran a website where the sovereigns hung out, though she seemed like she didn't really like them or something. She was like, some people actually kind of ruin it for the rest of us. And isn't that how it always happens? So before I get to the neighbors, let's I'll get to the neighbors in the next one. I'll keep on reading this. The William McDonald, he lives in California, in the Petaluma, 868 Holly Lane, 949522239. They've owned that property since 1800. So goddamn, there's any group of people, you can expect any kind of, you got to keep an eye on these people, right? So like parcel number 300029091, he lives in Mesita, block 43, lot 4 and 9. And so, the one property by the bridge is out of the name for the McDonald's, but there's William McDonald. I mean, he's had that property since 1800, which is freaking crazy. He's out in California. They say his address is out in California now. But how many McDonald's are living in Mesita? And who is that uncle that Trinidad was talking about? So that's the only thing that kind of, piqued my, sort of, just kind of curiosity. But it seems like for the most part, the big names are gone. The big names are gone. Now, how many of these, smaller names believed in the bullshit and, was wanting to bring into a right-wing movement? Who are the right-wing sovereigns that are still out there? They still believe in the right-wing dream. One of the biggest problems in Costilla County, why would the right-wing movement and illegal terrorist movement, succeed? One of the biggest problems, I'm going to criticize the Republicans. There's just no caucus out there. The Republicans don't seem to respect the caucus or the democracy or the voting here, and there's just so much voting. To not vote in Colorado is you have to really say no, 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 like 100 million times. That you can, register online. They mail it out to you so many days in advance, and you can, research it all. Same day registration for the most part. If you're upright citizen, if you're a good person, if you're a lawful good, Let's keep on reading here. They're targeted by the people's grand jury. We deal with this philosophy from time to time. He says these guys call themselves constitutionalists, essentially take the position that any state office is illegal. I don't agree with any of this and not authorized under their view of the world. A lot of these communications, I think the big mistake is I am a radical, so I do want radical change, meaning I want fundamental change. But nothing like this. I'm a liberal. I'm left wing. I'm a progressive. And Boris Johnson defined being a progressive essentially as always looking at the road in front of you and not living in the rearview mirror or side mirrors, not looking off to the sides. Look at the road in front of you. Look at the road ahead and keep on progressing. Keep on moving forward. That's what a progressive is. One who wants to progress. One who wants to move forward, to make better, to improve. But you got a lot of regressives. People that want to stay in the rearview mirror and just keep on looking back. And we deal with this philosophy from time to time. He says these guys call themselves constitutionalists, take the position any state office is illegal, not authorized under the review of the world. A lot of these communications were a little odd. If anything, I love Colorado's home rule. They're saying that the local village is the main constitution, then state, then feds. And so the village is king. I believe in the sovereign village movement, if there is such a thing. I want the sovereign village. I want us to be, communitarians. This is our community. You live there, I live here, and we got to live in the capitalist society, but why not, kind of give a damn about each other too. As a liberal, I think with my heart. So I'm a bleeding heart, meaning I might care too much. So I could use a dose of common sense and, tighten up the belt, physical conservatism and what have you. So they're saying that he owes $1 billion. Stan Garnett, Boulder DA. Now, if they're on your side, it'd be nice to have, some rowdy ruckus to kind of defend you and support you if, people were unjustly trying to. A lot of these communications are odd and concerning. The arrest warrant. Much of it was actually delivered around the cul-de-sac that I live in, Boulder, so that was concerning to my family that these guys knew where I lived. The Colorado Attorney General's office declined to comment on the arrest because the cases have yet to go to trial, but Stan Garnett says he helped the AG's office compile evidence prior to the indictment that was handed down on March 30th, which lists dozens of offenses and other targets, judges, county officials, and district attorneys, including former Denver DA Mitch Morrissey. The 8 individuals arrested are all being held on bonds ranging from $100,000 to $350,000. One of the individuals arrested on March 30th had also played a role in the off-the-grid scuffles in Costilla County. Bruce Doucette, who owns and runs a computer repair store in Littleton, considers himself a judge within his movement. This is a 2017, was when the article was written. And advised Ammon Bundy on how to set up a common law jury during the Malheur standoff. In an April 12th post on its website, the Southern Poverty Law Center called Doucette the most notorious common law superior court judge of the continental un-United States, with the capital N but not the capital U. Well, I capitalized the N. I remember I had a cousin. Whenever they would just play wrestle. My one cousin's wrestling with the other cousin. One was bigger, so it was just playing, but the other one would always say, my finger was up, right? I had my fingers crossed. That's what this sounds like. I am the sheriff around these parts. Sheriff with a capital S or a capital H? Capital H. Oh, so you have no authority. You have the same authority as I do. Yeah. So why did you just say all that? To deceive you? To pretend that I am a police officer? That's what the damn Supreme Court of Colorado said. He wasn't frickin' masquerading as a cop. Many members of these courts are sovereign citizens who believe their judgments supersede federal and district court decisions, then bring their quasi-legal activity into legitimate courts and use tactics including intimidation and paper terrorism. The SPLC article stated, specifically mentioning the March 30th indictment in Colorado, Doucette took his activity to Costilla County in late 2015. Uh-oh. What is this about? What is this about? There is some posse that's out there, and they had a meeting out there by the Labato Bridge. I'm telling you, this all stinks like the right wing. It's like the bacteria, the remnants of the bacteria. They're still kind of lingering. But, yeah, no, that's, you can't have a Xanus a part of your damn fucking movement and expect people to want to mimic you. Are you kidding? At the time, the county was trying to set up enforcement of its land use codes, was proposing a number of changes to its ordinances, including clarification around camping restrictions. Off-gridders not used to having code enforcement officers coming by their properties to do inspections, demand permits, issue warnings, were not pleased with the heightened regulations. Hundreds of residents joined a Facebook group called San Luis Valley Just Us and organized opposition, including protests at county commission meetings where changes to the code were being considered. Many claimed they couldn't afford requirements like septic systems and argued that they should be able to camp on land they owned